Okay, probably the easiest of them all is where you are given a graph instead of having to decipher all that lovely stuff. So if we look at number 1, it says write the equation of a line that passes through -3, 0 and is parallel to the line shown. Well, all I know is parallel means same slope, which means first I have to identify the slope, which means I'm going to go to this graph and I'm going to find the rise over run. In this case, the rise over run is 2/3, but the right arrow is pointed down, so it's -2/3. And since it is parallel, I'm going to keep it -2/3. Now, again, this comes down to preference. If you want to go with graphing, I'm going to get a piece of graph paper. I'm going to plot the point at -3, 0, and my slope is -2/3, which means I'm going to go down to right 3, and I land on a y-intercept of -2. So my equation is y equals -2/3 x minus 2. Now we could take that a step further and convert it to standard form, which means I'm going to multiply everything by 3. 3 times y is 3y. 3 times -2/3 is -2x, and 3 times -2 is -6. I'm going to add 2x, and since it ends up being positive, I don't have to change my signs. So read the questions carefully on whether it wants slope-intercept form answer or standard form answer. If it's slope-intercept form answer, it's y equals -2/3 x minus 2. If it's standard that it wants, it's 2x plus 3y equals -6. So watch out for either. Let's look at number 2. Write the point slope form to slope-intercept form of the line that passes through the point provided and is perpendicular to the line shown. Well, any parallel perpendicular question, I need the slope. So let's go find that by drawing my rise over run. My rise over run is 2/4, which simplifies to 1/2. The right arrow's pointed up, so it is positive, but it's a perpendicular question, which means opposite reciprocal. The opposite reciprocal of 1/2 is -2. And I want it to go through the point shown, and the point shown is 2, -1. Now, this is where I could honestly use graph because they gave me a graph to use, but for the purpose of this lesson, I'm going to go to y equals mx plus b. So y is -1, the slope we need is -2, and the x is 2. So then I solve -2 times 2 is -4. I solve b by adding 4, and so I get +3 as my y-intercept. So y equals my new slope, which is -2x plus 3. And if I want to convert that to standard form, I'm going to add 2x because there's nothing to multiply by. And I get 2x plus y equals +3. So if it asks for slope-intercept form, it's -2x plus 3. If it asks for standard form, it's 2x plus y equals 3. Either way. All right, let's go over a third method. Third method, this time it says perpendicular. So I first have to find the slope. The slope is 1/3, and it's positive because it's going up. But since it's perpendicular, I need to opposite reciprocal it, which means opposite of 1/3 and reciprocal is -3. This time I'm going to do rate of change. So change in y over change in x. The slope or the point here is -1, 2. -1, 2. So I'm going to change in y over change in x, which means I'm going to change my y by subtracting 3, and I'm going to change my x by adding 1. -1 plus 1 is 0. 2 minus 3 is -1. And truth be told, that's my y-intercept, but I'm going to use stat. And I'm going to do -1, 0, and 2, -1. All right, so my y-intercept is -1. There it was. So y equals -3x minus 1. Again, if I wanted to convert to standard form, I would add 3x. And since I add 3x, it's positive, so I don't need to change the signs. So 3x plus y equals -1. All right, fourth and final option is point slope form. So if I look at, sorry if it's a little dark. Let me do something real quick. I don't know if that helps. All right. If I look at number 4, it says write a graph on the equation of a line that is parallel to the point given. I'm sorry, the point's really hard to see. It's down there. That is 1, -4. And parallel means same slope. So I first got to find the slope. Well, the slope here is just 1. And since it is parallel, that means I use 1. So the last type is point slope form, which means I use this formula, y minus whatever y is, which is -4, the slope is 1, and then x minus whatever x is, which is 1. So then I'm gonna, when I see minus a negative, it turns it into addition. I'm gonna distribute, so 1 times x is 1x, and 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. I'm gonna subtract 4. So y equals 1x minus 5 is my equation. That being said, I have to convert it to standard form, so I would subtract 1x. But since it's negative, I would change the sign, so it would be x minus y equals positive 5. Lengthy process, but not hard. So you have 4 options. So again, it just comes down to preference. You choose your method of choice. This time, I look at number 5. It says, write a linear equation in slope, intercept, and standard form from the following. I want it to be parallel to point T. Well, point T is 8, 2. And I need it to be parallel, which means the slope here is negative 1/4, which means I want it to also be negative 1/4. And let's say I use y equals mx plus b. So 2 equals negative 1/4, parentheses 8, plus b. And then I'm going to multiply. Negative 1/4 times 8 is negative 2, which then means I would add 2. So my y-intercept is 4. So my slope-intercept form is y equals negative 1/4 x plus 4. To convert that to standard form, I'm going to multiply everything by 4. So 4y equals negative 1x. 4 times 4 is 16. I'm going to add 1x and then 16 there. Since it is positive, I don't have to change the signs. So if it wants slope-intercept form, y equals negative 1/4 x plus 4 is my answer. If it wants standard form, it would be 1x plus 4y equals 16. This part here says perpendicular to point R. So perpendicular means I'm going to opposite reciprocal negative 1/4. Well, the opposite reciprocal of negative 1/4 is positive 4. And then I'm going to go through point R, which is negative 2, negative 1. This time I'm going to do rate of change. So if I do change in y over change in x, I'm going to add 4 to the y, and I'm going to add 1 to the x. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1, and negative 1 plus 4 is 3. So when I type that into stat, oops, wrong side. Oh my goodness. It's going to be a y-intercept of 7. So y equals 4x plus 7. And then convert it to standard form, which means subtract 4x. And got to change the sign. So it would be 4x minus y equals negative 7. So if it wants slope-intercept form or if it wants standard. Either way, choose your method of choice. Stick to it.